Hello. This lecture we're going to talk about Ipywidgets. The last lectures we have covered how to use some of the commonly used Ipywidgets and how to add that as a widget to Ipyleaflet. And so we have used the ink slider, float slider, and also, for example, the drop-down list. But today we're going to cover a little bit more. So Ipywidget is very powerful and it has lots of interactive widget that you can integrate into the application. So you can go to the website geohead.gshub.org, and then on the left side, examples, Ipywidget, and download this novel example to your computer, or you can clone the GitHub repository. So for today, we're going to go through the widget list, see how we can utilize this, how we can customize some of these widgets so that you can develop creative applications or package. So I'm going to open my Visual Studio Code, and on the left side here, you can click the outline. So there you can actually the table content, because this is a relatively long document. So there are different components, and some of those are actually quite commonly used. I want to get familiar. Of course, you don't need to remember everything. You can always come back to the widget list. Check out the link here, and there are a lot more here on this page. So you're welcome to try them out. And most of the widgets share some commonality. If we're going to have a values attribute, basically the parameter that you can customize. Sometimes you might have minimum, maximum, and also a description. So the description is the one that's going to show up on the left side here. And you can also design the orientation, for example, vertical or going to be horizontal. So I'm going to try out some of those, and we are not going to cover all of them, but some of the commonly used one, for example, a button and a drop-down list, ink slider, date picker, time picker. So these things are quite common if you're doing remote sensing applications. You want to allow the user to maybe select some images, filter some data from a data catalog, and then you click a button to execute. And also there are some composite, for example, VBox and HBox. We're not cover that one in the next lecture. For now, it's just go through some of the commonly used one. So the first one is the ink slider. We have briefly covered this one in the previous lecture. So the convention is to import Ipywidget as widget, and then you can just type widget doc something. You're going to pop up in the drop down list. Then you can select, for example, ink slider. You can give a value 2000. So this is going to be the default value, and the minimum, the maximum, the step, and also the description. The description is the one I'm going to show up on here on the left side. So whenever I change my value, for example, sliding left and right, you can always just try the doc value, this one, and then can be updated. So for example, here I can do it like this way, and you're going to change the value. And similarly, you can also change the description, right? So here is the year. I can also do in slider underscore slider doc description. So everything is interactive, so you can update it. So for example, year, and then if you don't need the colon, you can do it like this way. So if I execute it, pay attention to the one at the top. Okay, it's being updated instantly, and also or you can do both here like that. Going to update instantly. So this is very powerful. You can also update the value, right? So if I want to update the value programmatically in your source code, I can say value equal to, and I would say maybe 2019 on it. Okay, it's going to update it. So basically, it's a bi-directional, and based on your interaction, you can get a value, or you can set a value, and it's going to update this widget. And one thing also to keep in mind is that those are linked together. So if I display this one again, you'll notice here you can develop two different copies, but they're actually the same. So if I move one slider, the one at the bottom also. So it's basically the same components, but different views. So it's basically multiple copies, but under the hood, it's the same thing. That's why it's synchronized, and it's also maybe very powerful. So this is the ink slider. Similarly, we can have the float sliders. The float slider is that you can have floating points. The steps can be floating, right? So -1, 1, and the value, default value is 0. The step is 0.5. This can be useful if you are doing, for example, NDVI, right? So you have an NDVI image. You're trying to do the visualization, and then you want to use this to change the threshold interactivity. Then you can use the float slider. Again, you can always get a value. So the Ipywidget, reason why it's so powerful and so popular because it's synchronized. So between the backend and so we can allow the user to interact with these widgets, and then we can grab the values to do computation, and we can return the results back to the program. This is about the float widget, float slider. There's also one called progress bar. The progress bar is like when you're running something, you want to show the progress. And so you can have a value, minimum, maximum, and then also the step. This one, you can also change the slider interactively. So you can have a loop, and every time you update one by one. So useful to show you the progress bar, right? So this 0 to 10, and this is number 7. But you can certainly change it, for example, um, after that, for example, on this one, and then add a new code block and say in um, progress dot value equal to maybe 9. You run it, you see the progress bar going to, right? So now it's 9. Change it to 10. Run it. Okay, so now it's full. So this can be useful. You can write this one in a loop, a for loop, and then in your program, whenever you finish something or you know the progress, then you can update the progress value. Next one is the int text. This one allows you to enter something, right? So you can have a value, the default value, and also description. You can allow this drop down the up arrow, increase that. But you can also enter anything, right? Enter any numbers. So it doesn't have to be the default value. For example, 789 will work as well. So this sometimes can be better than the slider because the slider, you need to know the minimum and the maximum. But for this in text is can enter any values. So we can have a default values, something like here, but you are welcome to enter any larger values. Similarly, float text. Float text is you can have with, so there's a step here. So for example, you can increase the step equal to maybe 2. Okay, that means you need to have a comma, right? So if you increase this one, or 0.5, probably not called the step. It's called 0.1. Oh, this is 2.0 maybe. So, interesting. So it's only using like 0.5. Probably a bug. So how about this? Try 0.1. Okay, the 0.1 is works, but 3.1 works. Doesn't work. Anyway, so these are the float text. Also, we have buttons. The button have toggle button and also the traditional button. This one is the toggle button, means you can have multiple buttons on the same row. So take a look at this one. Have this one button and click me. So you right now we don't have any actions yet. We need to write a observe function. For now, this is just the toggle button, and you can change the button style. Right, this description value equal to false. That means it's not clicked yet. And you can have success, info, warning, danger. Also have description. Also you have an icon, a check mark here. So the icon can be, for example, globe. So you can change the icon. It right now have a globe. Maybe you have a map or something. There are lots of icons that is from the awesome icons. So, and the button style basically whether you want to be green button. So for example, you can change it to info. Then it's going to be kind of cyan color, also maybe warning like this. Yeah. So it's up to you how you want to do it. And then once you get the values, you'll be either true or false. True means this is being selected. False means it's not selected. Okay, so that's the toggle button. So the next one is the checkbox. This one is also a very commonly used component for Ipywidget. So it allows you to select the checkboxes. So for example, if you when you develop an application, they allow the user to select multiple criteria. Sometimes you can have a checkbox, and then so if you check, then you do something. If it's not checked, you do something else. So the values, the outcome of the checkbox will be true or false. So you see here, right now it's not checked. So if I check here, it's going to be false. Also, there's one here, the indent. Usually, I would recommend that you do this one. So by default, the indent will be true. You see some like spacing left side here. So if the indent, they're going to indent to the right. If you don't need it, you can change the indent to false, and then you check the values like something. Next, selection widget. So there are a couple selection widgets here. The first one is the drop-down list. And this one, you'll be using this one for the lab assignments. So for example, I'm going to ask you to create a drop-down list that allow the user to change the base map. So if you know how to do this, then you can basically passing the option of base maps. Then so the user can just select this. So you can, for example, select different values. Drop-down list is going to have this option parameters. Options means you provide a list of options that allow the user to customize, and you can set the default value. So make sure that the default value here to be from one of those. Otherwise, you're going to get an error. So for example, if I have Canada 2, then if you run this one, you're going to run into it because the values cannot be found from the options. Okay, so the options and then the value and then the descriptions will allow you to select. So now if I select this one, you want to Canada, strings, select so this for the drop-down list. There's another one called radio buttons. The radio buttons allow you to have multiple options, and then instead of the drop-down list, you want to show all this all at once. So the radio button, you can only select one, right? So if I click here, USA, the radio buttons, select the Mexico, and I'm going to grab the values. Similarly, it has the options parameter that allows you to set the options. So these are the two commonly selection widgets. Next one is the string. So this is something also might be useful if you just need some text input box, right? And so you can have a placeholder, you can have a description, and then you really want to disable. Disable means you can use it to show some text, but you don't want the user to edit anything, then you can use that. So here, take a look at this. So placeholder. So if I remove this one, you're going to say show you the placeholder. So be coming from here. And the description is this part, and the value is the text that is by default. If you don't provide anything, it will be empty. So don't need anything. You can have a value empty to something, then you will show you this placeholder. And after that, so for example, if I type anything, I will say, for example, Canada. Then hit enter. Then you run this one, it's going to grab the value Canada. So it's up to you to allow the user to enter anything. If you want to provide, for example, some options that allow the user to enter some parameters, then you can do it this way. So this is usually just one line. If you need multiple lines, so it's called text area. So text area allows you to have a placeholder. So you have something like this here, and also have a disable force. And so similarly, you're going to have a multi-line. The nice thing about this, it allows you to change the size of the text box. You can drag it down. It's going to increase and allows you, for example, to enter multiple lines. This can be useful if you want to allow, for example, develop program that allow the user maybe paste some a block of text. Then you can use that to extract information, or you can extract some coordinates from the text or something like that. Yeah. Okay. So this is the text input box. Next one is HTML. This one is also quite powerful. So last time we talked about the output widget, and HTML allows you to have some text, and then it's going to show because it allows you to, for example, bold it. Look at this one here without the HTML. you are going to just print out the text. So it's difficult to make to change the formatting. But this allows you, for example, you can have brackets, and B means bold. On the bold it just one of the here. But you can also add, for example, images. So in this case, right, I can add a logo, something like this, and allows you to show the logo. And so this one is the pure HTML, right? So you can have an image, you can width, height. You can also change it. So if this is too small, you can change it, for example, to 200 pixels, 200 pixels. And if you run again, you'll be a much bigger one, right? So this means really flexible. So essentially, Ipywidget allows you to display any HTML. So it can be very simple one, or it can be something very complicated. So all you need to do is to passing this HTML inside this double quote or single quotes within the values. Then you will be this. And if you create an interactive map, you might want to display some logos or some things on the map. Then this will be the way. So you just create an HTML widget and then pass the widget to the control to the map. Then you should be able to see this one. Next one, button. So this is one of the very commonly used one. It's actually quite useful because if you design the program, most likely you want to allow the user to execute. So what we're doing here is to create a button, and the button also has a button style, so allows you to change to one of those. The info will be cyan color, but if you change to success will be green, and then warning will be red, and danger or something like that. So you can, like for example, if you warning, you'll be kind of orange color, and also it has an icon, right? So the icon here is come from the so-called font awesome icon. So you can actually use any of those. If you don't know about it, you can just simply Google, and then you should be able to find information about the font awesome icon. So all you need to do is just find the name. So for example, icons, and then from there, there are lots of those. Not all of them are supported, but the older version should be supported. I forgot what's the version. So awesome icon 5 point, maybe 5.7.2 or something like that. Change this one, and then from here you can look at all the icons, right? So font awesome icon 7,000 something. All you need to do is just find the name, right? So any of these icons in here, it should be usable. If you see the pro icon, probably that one is not usable. But for example, you can have this, for example, a wrench, right? So all you need, you can come back to here, and then I can just click here, WRENCH, right? Wrench. Run it again. You should be able to see this button, right? If you just want the button, you don't want the text, you can do that as well, and it will look like this. So, but this is probably too long. You can change the width. So I'm going to button dot layout dot width equal to maybe, for example, 35 pixel. It will make it much smaller. So now you have this icon. So this one is essentially what you see from the leaf map. Is this one. So I can have info, and now you're going to change to cyan color, or you can have to, I think the primary, MARY. So the primary is the one that's actually color. This is actually the button being used in leaf map. Okay, next one, date picker. So this one allows you to create a date picker that allows the user to change the date. Especially if you're working on remote sensing applications, sometimes we want allow the allow the user to have pick the date range for data when you are searching the data. For example, specific time period for the imagery, then you might want to have this. And it's pretty simple. So once you select the date, then you can use the date picker to get the value. So the date time values. You can convert this one to text or other data type. Then you can pass into your program to something else. And you can certainly also set the default values if you have to. So it will be the description and then values, and then you can pass in, I believe you can pass in the string or something like that. Similarly, you have a color picker. So the color picker allows you to have a color pickers like this. And there's a option called concise. So if it is concise, then it wants to be a little bit smaller. So then here, oops. If you change to 2, then it's going to be concise. It will be just doesn't show you the name, just one icon. This can be useful. You just need more space, taking too much space. Then you can use the concise version. If you need, then use the full version. So force like this. And you can get the value. So you can get a color. You can also get a hex color. So for example, you select anywhere here, and if you select the value, it will be a hex color call like this. With hashtag at the beginning, and then this will be R E B. So hex color call. So those two digits, red and green. Next one, output widget. We actually have covered this one in the previous lecture. So this one allows you to basically print anything. So it's kind of used as a container, and then within the container you can print out something or you can display any widget on there, right? So right now it doesn't show you anything. We also have a border here, just um, 1 pixel, solely black, and then within the output widget we can have a range, and then you can just print it out. So show you of this, right? So again, although we run the code beneath, going to output widget because it's display. I'm going to do something like this. If I run this one again, you're going to see it's going to duplicate. So you're going to getting longer and longer. And if you want it, for example, every time it's printed out, you want to clear the output, then you will be do something like this. Out, so clear output, and then parentheses, and run it. So this will be always going to be the same, because before it's printing something, it's going to. And so not just printing text, you can also use the display. So for example, here I can create a button, right? So I can just use display function, display the widgets. So for example, ink slider. So take a look on this one. You see I have an ink slider in here. You can display as many widgets as you want. So I can also display, for example, a button. So widget dot button, right? Parentheses, description, hello, yes, run it. So this makes the output widget very, very powerful and very flexible. You can combine with text, images, or any widgets, right? Because the widget that we cover have all kind of widgets, even include HTML, images, or all kind of stuff. And so the output widget can be just as a container that do pretty much anything. So you can, if sometimes if you need this one, you can use this, especially if you generate some figures from Matplotlib or any other program. You want to display them, then you probably want to use output widget. And similarly, for example, you can even display YouTube video. Look at this, right? So this is a video that I created, and import the Ipywidget, Ipython display the YouTube video, and then you can pass in just the big ID to this video. And look at this one, right? We clear the output from the output widget, and then we just display and then show it. And so this allows you actually show the video. Pretty cool, because you can essentially embed text, images, videos all on the application. So user can just click one button, then they will. But if you run it on the Jupyter Lab, it should work. This might be just back my environment, and then I can clear it out, and then can change it to maybe a slider widget, right? So everything is customizable, powerful. And so last application I want to show you is that how do you put everything together. So although we cover some of those previous lecture, but this one basically put all the things together. So we need the Ipywidget. We also need the Ipylib, the widget control. But after that, we can use our own package, right? Because I'm using the GeoHay, and we can create a new map. The new map, this one is basically Ipy. It's also Ipywidget. And what we can do is to add something into it. So pay attention to here, right? We create an output widget, and then we add this widget to the widget control, put it on the low right corner. So if you want it, you want to see this one here somewhere. But you don't see it right now because there's nothing on the output widget. And I can just add this one, for example, nice map. Look at this. Because you have this output widget, one solid background. If you don't need that, you can actually, by default, if you just white background. And next, we can actually create the output, and then we show the HTML, and then we have the logo, and then display the logo. So run this one again. Now this interactive map, we have a logo displaying map, and you can also have some interactions. So the map has this function called handle interaction, and the map.on interaction. So this is basically the handler. This name doesn't matter. You can change it to any names. But what we're doing here is that this keyword arguments, we can get the coordinates. And then so when the user click on the button, you can actually get the coordinates, basically the latitude and longitude. Again, this one. And then right now, it's not showing the logo, but when I click my mouse, it's going to get the coordinates. It's going to clear the logo and then show the coordinates. Take a look. So it's going to show you, you click somewhere, right? And this is essentially why makes Ipylab so powerful, because you can interact with the map and then can grab the coordinates. For many of the geospatial applications, sometimes we want to allow the user to interact with the map. For example, draw a rectangle or click your mouse on the map, then you grab the coordinates and pass it back to the program. So it's pretty useful. And but for the widget, for the map, you're going to use the interaction. Then for the any other Ipywidget, you're going to use the observe function. So we have covered it in the previous lecture. And lastly, I want to show you, for example, lastly, more widget is the container layout widget. So these two are Hbox and also the Vbox. These two are pretty useful. It allows you to combine multiple widgets together as a single widget. So let me show you what this one is doing. Right, I can copy it here. This is Hbox. It's called horizontal box. Come to here, paste this one, then Control V, then you run it. It's going to show you about 0, 1, 2, 3. Basically, you have 4 labels. I can certainly also, we can use the button, right? So we can just say button like this. So it's going to create, 4 buttons, and then going to place horizontally, like 1, 2, 3, 4. You can certainly have a description. For example, description, IPRON equal to, for example, STRI plus 1, right? That means I'm going to give it 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the way that you can create all the buttons all at once, right? And you can also change the width if you want to. But for now, you can. This is horizontal. So similarly, you can change it. So basically, we create a list of widgets, and then we pass the list of widgets into the horizontal box. Then it's going to have that horizontally. Similarly, we can create one vertically, right? So just change this one to V box. And run it, you're going to have 4 buttons like this, 1, 2, 3. And this makes it quite flexible, because for the buttons, we can change the size, change the width, change the color, something like that. And we can combine multiple together. The last one I want to show you is, let me show you leaf map. And I want you, for the lab, I want you to do something very similar to the base map selector. So I'm going to show you quickly how you can do that. Map.map. And then M. Okay, so this is the map, the leaf map. You see this button here, right? These things are actually coming from Ipywidget. And I want to emulate this one. So this one allows you to change the base map. So what it's doing here, this one has a drop-down list. Okay, so for example, if I select any base map, and select the base map, there's also a button here. This button allows you to close it. Right? So if I close it, gone. And open the one again, right? I can change to other layer. For example, here, go base map. And if I don't need it, I can close it. So for the lab assignment, I want you to create something like this, similar. And if you look at this button again, it's actually pretty simple. So drop down this, and also the button, right? So if you have this horizontal box, you can create the drop down list, and then you can create this button, and then you put them all together. Then you can have some actions. When you select the drop down list, then you change the base map layer. So we have covered this one in the previous lecture. You can also, when you close the button, you can remove this control. So that means when you close it, it's going to clear the remove the control, this specific one. And so let's do it here. Quickly show you how to do that. So you can create a button, for example, btn equal to widget button. And then, so for this one, you don't need any text. I can just like this. Okay. You can just have an icon without a text. So icon equal to maybe um, what's this one? Times. So the times basically means the multiply. So basically it's the icon. So here times and display it. So in what it looks like. Okay, looks like this. So right now it's like gray color, but you can change the style. I can say style. Um, not the style. Okay, the width. Let me change the width first because I don't want big. So bbtn dot tn dot layout dot width equal to something. So on this one, now it becomes much smaller, and you can change the earlier the color. So and go back to get what it looks like. So button here be the button style equal to, for example, primary or something like this. What we need is come back to here, go down to the end, and this here, right? Now we have the button, have this one, then it doesn't do anything yet. You need to execute this one, so they link this one to an event. So besides that, we also need a drop down list. So drop down equal to Ipywidgets drop down list, and then in here you need to provide the options. Example, something like this. Okay, this one doesn't work yet, but you can welcome, for example, auto the position open it map, then open topo map like that. And for the values, of course, you need to the default use the default value. Something you can have multiple options. For example, yes, I dot what okay. Then once you have this one, read it to see what it looks like. Drop down, find it. So hopefully, you have these two components. Then we can use the widget, right? So this is one. You can set the width if the two y. I can drop down um dot layout dot width go to 100 pixels, something like that. You'll be narrow. So if you think it's just too long, you can change it. Okay, now it's much smaller. So put too small, then we change it to other one. Have a bigger one. Yeah. So this looks okay now. Okay. So with both the drop down list and also the button, now we can actually put things together. So you can have a list, for example, box equal to widget dot depends on what you want. So in this case, we're going to have a horizontal box, right? Horizontal box. And then, so within here, we can have a list. Right now, we can just pass in and have a list. So the list is going to have the button and also the drop down list. Or maybe I want to have the drop down list first and then the button to the right. So comma, place. And then let's see what it looks like. So box and run it. You should be able to see right now it's horizontally, right? Cool. And with this, now we can add this to the map. So again, I'm going to geohead map, then map. I'm going to create this map. After that, I can add the widget to the map. So example, I can do this m.add widget. So I have already covered this function in the previous lecture. So now we can just add the box. For example, box map is going to add to the top right corner. So let's take a look. Okay. Now I have this drop down list, and then I can select, I can drop. When I close it, right now it doesn't do anything yet. You need to have the functions. When the buttons, you have a button on click. Again, let me come back to the bench here. Right. So you need to have define this button on click. Look at this example. So you need to define something here. Within this one, you need to basically, when it click the close, you want to remove the control. When the user select the drop down list, so the drop down list is going to use the observe functions. Those are the two things that you need to do in order to link These two, when you select the drop down list, I'm going to change the base map. When I close it, I'm going to close this one. So how do you close? Actually, you can do it like this. M dot close equal to M dot controls, and then -1. So right, so basically under your source code, you might need to do something like this, or you can just create a control and then you need to reference the control. But I think this might be the easy. Take a look. So if I run this one, and you see it's gone. So inside your button, when the button is closed, and execute line of code to. Okay, so that's all I want to cover for this lecture. And again, you are welcome to add more widgets to the map. You can use different combinations. And if you need to have a composite of buttons, then you're either going to have the horizontal box or vertical box. If you just own just one, then you don't need that complicated. But again, you're welcome to go to the widget list, long list of widgets in here. You can even have a file upload button. So you want to define, allow the user to select file from the computer, then you can have this upload button and the controller, color picker. So choose whatever you want, and then trying to add some interactive functionality map. Okay, so that's all for this video. I will see you next one.